Hey, welcome to this unannounced hangout. Nothing fancy. I'm just gonna tune the bands and see what we can hear. So if anyone joining us can tune around and we'll compare our signals. WWV coming in on 25 megahertz. A little noisy. I'm gonna go and tune the 31 meter band starting at 9 megahertz. Let's see what we can hear. The weather facts out of Boston. This 9265 is WINB and Red Lion, Pennsylvania. It's some music right now.
Your will for our lives. Holy Father, may the words of my mouth and meditations of my heart be pleasing and acceptable unto you, O Lord our God. In the blessed name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen. The Gospel of John, chapter 4. Therefore, when the Lord knew that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John,
WWCR from Nashville, Tennessee right now on 9350.
Judea and departed again to Galilee. But he needed to go through Samaria. So he came to a city of Samaria, which was called Sychar, near the plot of the ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph.
Welcome to everyone that's online right now. I see that the counter says that we have some spectators right now.
It was about the 6th hour. Then a woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink."
Is one that was replacing one who was tired, which is very, very unusual. There's been a lot of talk about the Pope, and this guy here is doing, seeming like he's doing a very good job appeasing or deceiving the masses. And one day he did a trip to a certain place, and his language was so Christian, so godly, it was shocking.
WWRB in Manchester, Tennessee.
You can be an atheist to be saved, and then you turn around
This would be Radio Algérienne, which is a station from transmitting from France. Global 24 on 93.95.
the Islamic State troops, ICC Triple Birth 2015.
This is All India Radio in English right now on 9445 kilohertz.
This is the general overseas service of All India Radio. It's time for the day's commentary. Bangladesh political instability. Scripted by Seema Koga, journalist, and read by Maria Bina Michael. Bangladesh has once again been drawn into a quagmire of political violence. The country has been witnessing a renewed spell of mindless violence due to confrontational partisan politics. The opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party (BNP), led by Begum Khalida Zia, and the 20-party alliance is bent on forcing
All India Radio coming in. Well, 9445 is a good one. Probably 11670 also.
And the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. The hope of the
Yeah, a little weaker, but 11670. And 9445 for All India Radio in English right now.
Hugely damaged the once thriving economy. Unlike other countries, Bangladesh had been growing at a steady pace of 6% for the last 2 decades. Much of the growth has been powered by garment exports, which accounts for 80% of Bangladesh's export basket. The industry employs 4 million workers, mostly women. It is a $24 billion a year industry, but the current standoff has damaged the...
Hello, Susan from California.
It also earns good amount of foreign exchange through tourism. That again is in a near collapse situation with the frequent calls for strikes by the opposition. The country is losing millions of dollars because of the turbulence, which has dried up the tourist inflow. In the resort town of Cox's
To answer your question, I'm using a about 40-50 feet long wire that is going across the backyard and into the neighbor's tree, and it is about 20 feet, 25 feet above the ground.
This year's violence began on 4th January when BNP leader Khalida Zia asked her party cadres to protest what she termed as Democracy Killing Day. This was the day elections were held.
By the way, if anyone wants to join me or send me a question or something, if you want to send me a question or just say hello, you can click on the questions and answer tab. You can leave a comment below the video. You can send me an email at officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com, and you can also leave a comment at on the Twitter feed, which is Shortwave Radios. So if you haven't joined, there's pretty much that's where I'll post a lot of information, including when I do these unannounced tuning the band hangouts as we're doing live right now, just tuning shortwave.
Against the party, the strikes fizzled out. Perhaps afraid that the Awami League government was gaining legitimacy, the BNP and its allies decided to trigger another round of protests during the first anniversary of the controversial polls on 5th January 2015. Sheikh Hasina's government decided to act tough.
So this is All India Radio. This is a general service. All India Radio right now is, I believe, broadcasting to Europe on 9445 and 11670. But since it's in the general direction, signal usually comes in quite well in North America. And at this time, it's pretty much the great moment to listen to All India Radio in English. They are in English up to, I think it's 22:30 UTC, so they have like a good hour and a half of English to North America and Europe. 9445
saying that the military respected the Constitution.
11670.
However, both the parties continue to be obdurate. The military think that it is their duty to rescue the nation. This has happened many times before. It is time that both the main parties try to break the deadlock and come to an agreement. An unstable Bangladesh is a threat to peace and stability of South Asia. For India, instability in Bangladesh would mean a flow of refugees into its vulnerable northeastern states and to West Bengal.
The other fear for India is that the Al-Qaeda and other militant Islamic groups may try to exploit the situation. The Al-Qaeda has already announced its decision to open its franchise in South Asia, and instability in Bangladesh would help these forces. That was the day's commentary. Bangladesh political instability. Scripted by Seema Guha, journalist, and read by Maria Albina Michael. You are with us on General Overseas Service for India Radio. It's time for an interview with Nikhil Chandra, IAS, Principal Secretary, General Administrator of Government of Odisha. This interview is titled Good Governance when it comes to human.
It's 9455 kilohertz. Is really Chinese fire Drake jammer right now. Why? Because at this time there's Radio Free Asia transmitting. So they want to make sure that Radio Free Asia does not go into China. So this is a fire Drake jammer direct from close to Beijing. I believe the transmitter for the fire drakes are close to Beijing. So this is really direct from China. You can see that they use that Chinese type music that's really like the most noisy type of Chinese music you can find to make sure that it blocks the transmissions.
Health issues. A book that contains and reveals facts, secrets, and information they don't want you to know. Did you know many diseases, cancers, yeast, fungi, and other kind of bacteria?
Hey, Mr. Driver Films from the UK. Welcome to the Hangout. Yeah, they are very strong. You know, I don't know how much power, but I suspect that they pump really the maximum amount of power they can put into the antennas for the fire drake jammers. Because the signal of the fire drake, you know, when propagation works, is very strong. Even here in North America, they seem to have lowered the number of simultaneous transmitters, but at some point, there were periods where I would receive, especially in the morning, the fire drake on like 10 different frequencies with very, very powerful signals. And actually, the other day that I've heard another type of jamming that the Chinese make, which is using their Chinese national radio, CNR1, and posting it on a frequency where some station might be transmitting. And I heard the other morning around 1200 UT, I heard CNR1 on 10780, and it was like S9 plus 20 on my radio. It was really powerful, and of course in Chinese.
They're committed. I mean, they will stand. They will. They'll almost go down to destruction for what they believe in. That's right. They are not. They were actually.
9475 is WTWW in Lebanon, Tennessee. And by the way, if you guys hear something special, something that you want to let me know of, don't worry. You can you know, send me that information. Let me know what you're hearing. That's interesting. In your part of the world, don't forget to let me know where you are from, especially for those that I don't see very often. You know, I'm getting the hangout or the hang of it of you know, the regulars on my hangouts, because now I know where you are. But there are a few people that show up and don't say where they are. It's always interesting because, you know, this is really a worldwide thing. So knowing where you are is always interesting. For example, here we have like 20 spectators right now, and just wondering, you know, most of them don't really, you know, let me know that they are listening. But it's always interesting. So 9475 WTWW in Lebanon, Tennessee, USA.
Einstein. They just released.
This is French 9490 kilohertz is Voice of America from Botswana transmitter relay, and this is in French right now, and they seem to have like a French language course. There's a signal on 9505 with no audio on it. This is Saudi Arabia, 9555 kilohertz. Saudi Arabia, with they've been having a lot of noise and interference on their transmitters. It's really having some weird noise on it right now. 9555 Saudi Arabia, which is a regular in Arabic. 9565 is 9565 is always Radio Marti, which is from the United States. This is a transmission for Cuba. Radio Marti is really directed at Cuba. And by the way, there's a little bit of noise on it, and that's Cuban jamming. It's Cuba jamming the signal, 9565 kilohertz.
Han visto la planta de caña de azúcar y han visto en realidad las condiciones que se hace toda esa tradición de que la planta sale del campo hasta que el azúcar se fabrica. Y de ahí es.
This is a possible Morocco transmission. Very weak.
It's a bit weird. Right, but I don't understand why computerized documents are involved at all here. Exactly.
This is China Radio International in English. This is a transmission directed to Europe right now. And it's a transmission that is from the Kazakhstan relay station in it's relay from Kazakhstan, and it's for Europe, so you European listeners should have a pretty good signal from 9600 kilohertz. And actually I'm going to check the web SDR here on my computer to see how well it is received in Europe, actually, and it's in English right now.
You hear a beautiful complaint. I mean, this is just one case. I think there's some awareness for hospital IT workers. We have to protect the privacy of your patients, and they have to store that information as the law regulates for like 30 or 50 years. And they have, if you're not able to do so, they have to find a way the low mark on the show who violated it.
And my last words here on this topic, I think, is we must break the document or destroy them in some way when expiry date is.
People are going to be disposed. They're going to be disposed.
Yeah, and I think that's a very simple thing to. Well, maybe if you do it in like.
Yeah, from the 20 receiver web SDR in Netherlands, it's really pounding a very strong signal. So this is quite a good one for Europe right now. China Radio International 9600 kilohertz, making it here to the East Coast. For those that wonder, I'm located in the East Coast, in Montreal, Canada, East Coast, North America. Hello, Robert Cole from Philadelphia. Welcome to the Hangout. Unannounced Hangout, just, tuning the bands. Why not tune your radio and let us know what you hear in Philadelphia right now.
Airplane emergency. Why is this?
And you got it, Radio Exterior de España. Only Spanish now, unfortunately. Would have been fun if they would have had their external languages, French and English. With a good signal from Spain, 9620 kilohertz in Spanish. Dreyer Films in the UK is saying that strong signal from China Radio. Yep, probably because on the web SDR that I've used from the Netherlands, it was really strong. So you must have a good signal out of China Radio also.
En la base naval de Rota en Cádiz. Se trata de la primera visita que Felipe VI realiza como monarca a una unidad de la Armada Española, como decimos, la fragata Cristóbal Colón, desde la que ha presenciado un ejercicio de guerra antiaérea y desde la que ha destacado que la modernidad de la Marina Española nos llena, dicho, de orgullo y responsabilidad. En primer lugar, quisiera saludar a toda la dotación de esta fragata, a Cristóbal Colón y a toda la escuadrilla.
Nine 675. Would be the Voice of America, 9675, from Great Britain. And this is from transmitting to Central Africa, probably the Voice of America in French. This would be a possible Radio Free Asia to the Far East. So it's a possible Radio Free Asia to the Far East in Korean. 9639. Let's check that. 9639. Only signal I get, I don't get 9639, but I get 9640 kilohertz. And 9640 with some music would be, what would that be? If we check a possibility, that would be China Radio International on 9640, but are you sure that it is 9639, Driver Films? Maybe it is possible though. Maybe you get something. If I look here in this, there's nothing that's off frequency of 9640, but you never know. What is it? Is it music? Because I'm having music right now. 9640, and that would be China Radio in Spanish. Hey Jacob, welcome to the Hangout. Listening to China Radio International from Mallorca, Spain. Real strong signal. And Radio Exterior de España, signal is 5573, my friend Jacob. And let us know what you're listening to, if you listen to other signals or anything unusual on your radio. Hey Dalibor, welcome to the Hangout. Welcome. It's been a little while. And damn internet, you know, when it's off and doesn't work well, it's always a big problem. Finally got your PL660. Congratulations. So how do you, what do you think of it? Do you like it? Give us a little more info on what you like. Okay, yeah, 9640 is China Radio International in Spanish, 9640. That's what you're probably hearing, and should be strong. It's for Europe, actually. So let's continue our tuning around the bands here. 9790 is Radio France International. Since I speak French, this is one of my regular frequencies where I sometimes tune in the at around this time for a little bit of news from France. Something on 9820 that I'm not really sure of. (9020), and I'm looking at the schedules here. 9820 could be. What could it be? Here's their CNR2 China Business Radio. So that's possible. It's a possible China, because I've seen that Fire Drake comes in, means that 31 meter band is open here in North America right now to Asia a little bit. So that could be CNR2 China Business Radio. 9820. I don't see much more than that. There's not a lot of transmissions at this time. And the sounds, you know, could be China National Radio #2. (9870), which is the broadcasting of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Hey, Mute Zone, welcome to the Hangout. And it's nice to see you. Mute Zone says that a little earlier he got Zambia on 5915 kilohertz. That's a good catch. You could also hear South Korean clandestines. Just above North Korean jamming around 6250 and 6518. Here it's still a little too early to get anything from Asia around these frequencies in Eastern North America. Below, I don't think I can receive much below 7 or 8 megahertz. I'm going to try. Just going to try CFRX, a lot of noise also. Oh yeah, there's Europe. Oh, I'm getting Serbia. Anyone in Europe receiving Serbia right now with their interval signal 6100. Very noisy, but still reception of Serbia here. So Serbia coming in. Dalibor says station from your area, Radio Serbia International, and 6100. It's in French, I think now. It does sound like French. A little bit noisy, but I believe it is in French. Something from your part of the world coming in on 6100 here. 61. If I look at Serbia, Radio Serbia, yep, at 2130, it is French. So French language from Serbia here, 6100. So yeah, I think it's a good receiver, Dalibor. I think you'll enjoy your PL660. It seems to have good grades, and you know, it gives you a good idea. It's fun to have single sidemen also that you can listen to the hams. As he's saying, he's listened to 2 hammer radio operators from Boston, United States, another one from the UK. So it's always cool and fun, and really congrats on the PL660. I think you'll have a lot of fun. Yeah, well, you know, portables are portables. When you crank up the volume on portable radios, it's not that fantastic, and that's where sometimes using headphones on the portables is a good idea. And also, you know what? A lot of people, because I used to, in the 80s, I had to use headphones all the time for my radio listening because nobody, you know, everybody in the house was doing something, and where my radio was located in the living room, everybody was always watching the TV. So not to bother anyone, I had myself a good pair of headphones for my radio. And one of the big pluses of having headphones when you listen to the radio is that you can actually make out the weak stations easier on headphones than you can with the regular audio. So maybe you can get a little pair of you know, headphones, nothing fancy, you know, those little Walkman or, you know, iPod or iPhone type little button headphones will actually do a good job. The driver films says 6100 keeps dropping. I'm actually surprised I can hear it right now. It's still an hour before sunset here, and I can hear it. Hey, Shy Will, got a L310 and an R9012. Congratulations on these 2 radios. What do you think of both? Let me know what you think of both radios. I always enjoy having the point of view of other people on some radios that I also own. And it's really nice to see that you got one. There's somebody else also that sent me a message today and told me, oh, I got an R9012, and told me how amazing you found that little radio. And you know what? For the amount of money you pay for the R9012, man, it is a fantastic little analog receiver. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, the Texan R9012 is amazing. So let's go back to the 31 meter band in tune. 9900, which is Cairo. Hey, Dustin. Welcome to the Hangout. Yep, India, that I tuned a little earlier. 9445, 11670. And yeah, 7550. I haven't tried it. 7550 is very noisy here. Actually, no audio on here. It's much in the noise on 7550, but 9445 and 11670 are great here. But they're very unusual music. I always, you know what, I like India for that. Some really exotic music listening is listening to All India Radio. So Cairo 9900, unfortunately, with their very, very bad audio as usual.
We're going nowhere.
This is the BBC from the Ascension Islands. Always a good catch here in North America, and I love this frequency that they've used for the winter because, you know, around this time is the time where I start usually making the supper. And I love it because I actually tune the BBC on my Grundig S450 DLX that I have in the kitchen and listen to the BBC throughout this, you know, making supper and everything. I just love this frequency for that they've chosen this winter. This is from the Ascension Islands in the South Atlantic Ocean.
On the morning of the 20th, this part of the square was firmly in control of the rioters. To my right was the Conservatory building that was occupied by the protesters, and they controlled the rest of the square down towards the road where we can now see traffic moving down.
Ah, okay, Shai. Thank you for correcting. You're the one that sent me. Yeah, I received that comment, but I didn't. I didn't remember if it was you. And when I saw that you had the R9012, I was thinking, well, maybe it's you, but I wasn't sure.
A police unit that was filmed firing towards the protesters.
Driver Film says Radio Romania 6170. 6.17. Yeah, very good here. Very strong in North America.
The project manager at the Oltenia Energy Compound, Laurențiu Turel, says the company plans to cut salaries by 2.3% in 2015 and make 3,000 employees redundant as of March this year. More than 1,000 of the people who will lose their jobs work in the Berbești quarry, which will be outsourced to the Govora Energy Compound, while the others are employees close to the retirement age. The latter will be included in a social protection program and will receive 1,500 lei per month until they
They're also on 7310. 7310, very good to North America. 7380. This one is for Western Europe. So you guys in Europe should listen to 7380 Western Europe. 7310 here in North America, very good. And 6170 also very good.
Has not reached an agreement with the visiting delegation of the International Monetary Fund and the European Commission, which requested the massive and radical restructuring of the companies. Mr. Yoko.
The Oltenia compound will not be closed down, and we will not support selling.
Hello, Andrew. Welcome to the Hangout. Andrew from Berlin, listening to Romania booming in on 7310. And just had a quick section on World Radio. Yeah, that's true. Tomorrow is World Radio Day. And I forgot to mention that in the Hangouts the other day when I did my Hangout. I wanted to have a little something to mention that tomorrow is World Radio Day. That is true. Very good Very good thing.
Coal-based or renewable, but also restructuring and investment, as well as measures to increase the efficiency.
Shaiwal listening to his PL310 ET, and he likes the radio and is listening to Radio Exterior de España on 9620.
Of energy companies in Romania. Radio Israel continues on Radio Romania International. The European Parliament resumes its investigation into the alleged illegal rendition and detention of prisoners by the CIA with collusion from European Union states. Romania is among the states involved. Here is a report on that by Mihai Pelin. The European Parliament on Wednesday decided to reopen.
Yeah, Delaware is a good idea. Using amplified speakers, you can use a. You can maybe try with the computer speakers also. Some of those amplified computer speakers. That could be a good idea, especially if because the output usually on the audio out is not very strong to drive a speaker. You know, this one does have a high power amp in the back, so the speaker is driven with, you know, a few watts, and that's why it works well. But usually on portable receivers, passive speakers that don't have any amplification aren't very good because you have to boost the power a lot. And I actually burned the audio out of one of my portable receivers many years ago. I'd say about 20 years ago. I had a portable radio, and I plugged in a passive speaker to the output of the headphones, and I had to drive the volume very high to get decent audio, and actually burned the output of the radio because I drove it probably too high a volume, and also the fact that it had to drive an external speaker, you know, was drawing too much power probably from the audio amplifier. Mute Zone here is saying that the PL660 is the best value for money shortwave radio and rivals the more expensive receivers. And he's heard Zambia on it, actually. And he recommends using a long wire or a good active antenna to get the most out of it. So why not maybe, you know, put a long wire outside, if you can put a piece of wire outside or something, or an active antenna to plug on, and that could improve even more the reception quality on your PL660 there.
Called for more extensive inquiries in Romania.
$99.80 kilohertz, which is probably one of those American religious, I think. Yeah, WWCR in Nashville, Tennessee, 9980.
From the Corbett Report, CORBETT report.com. But let's talk about the Ukraine. Got an article here from Reuters. Headline is Army Ukraine could lead to escalation of Russian support.
I'm gonna be back in 2 seconds, guy. I was just gonna go to the wee room, and also I'm gonna get myself a little beer, I think, here. So I'm back in 2 minutes.
Isn't it obvious that it's going to prompt a stronger response out of Russia?
How could it not? I mean,
I understand.
Yeah,
We need a think tank. We need a think tank for this. I mean, we could get that out of an eighth grade. We could get that out of an eighth grade civics class. You know, they could say, you know, they ought to be able to figure that out. I think one of the big questions from my perspective is, how strong is Ukraine right now? Is Ukraine the government of Ukraine going to be able to hold this thing together and continue to resist the rebels and perhaps whatever support Russia's providing? Can they continue this, or are they about out of slits, or where do you think they are? You know, we hear Russia, oh my gosh, these sanctions have caused Russia a lot of trouble. But what about Ukraine? Are they solid, or are they fragile?
I would say absolutely fragile in pretty much every sense, economically as well as in terms of the situation, in terms of keeping the country together as a functioning nation states in early 21st century Europe. I think it's already, in some ways, the fate has already been sealed. I don't think it's a functioning country in anything but name anymore. And one, perhaps the most obvious example of that is the latest from Poroshenko, who just came out to say we are ready to declare martial law in Ukraine. Yeah. And you can even take that from the Union Information Agency, one of the official Ukrainian news services, where basically they're
Hey, I'm back, guys. Susan asking me what's the weather like in Montreal. Well, it's actually snowing right now, and actually snowing quite hard, but it's not windy, so it's not too bad. But it's there's a good snow shower outside. It's not a storm or anything, but and it's supposed to become very, very cold in the next few days. We're at -5 Celsius right now. It's supposed to drop to -25 to -30 in the weekend, which is quite cold for even for Montreal.
Weaker, more desperate, and this is the last grasp at some straws before they crack up. If the government is really powerful, it fleeces the sheep every day, and the sheep don't even notice or mind. But when they say, "Oh my God, the sheep are,"
and Dalibor saying is using long wire, but there's a burst of noise. Yeah, that the problem with the long wire is that it's because it receives from everywhere. It actually really increases a lot the noise level. As part of the frequency range, that is true. For example, my outdoor long wire that I use on this radio gives me a lot of noise below 10 megahertz, but above 10 megahertz, I actually am quiet and enjoy really, really low noise on the 19 and 16 meter band. But that's the biggest problem here.
or do they still think they've got a chance to somehow save Ukraine from the rebels?
If only there was some embarrassment or discomfort with the way things are trending, but unfortunately, the U.S. Government continues to push ahead with this, and the latest is that the U.S. Congress is just now.
I'm gonna start tuning. I'm gonna tune to 10 megahertz and upper sideband and see what maybe we'll hear unusual signals.
Dew point 11, altimeter 3001. Atlanta, wind 310 at 22, got 29er, visibility 10.
Hey, welcome, Mark Schmidt from Maine. Always nice to see you on the hangout. We're tuning the bands. If you're hearing anything special in your little part of the world, why not share it with us, and we'll try to tune it and see if we can hear it here and share it with everybody else on the hangout right now. And Jacob, I saw your question about active antennas. I'm gonna answer that in a few moments.
3006.
So this is New York radio. This is aviation weather from New York in upper sideband 10051.
500 few clouds at 2.
Actually, let's do a little test. We'll tune all the frequencies and see which ones are coming in.
3001.
3485. Very weak. 6604. Also quite weak. 10051.
Miami,
and 13.270. Very good. I rarely remember seeing this as strong as that. New York radio weather on 13.270. Very strong.
Dew point 11, altimeter 3003. Nassau, wind 360 at 5, visibility more than 6, few clouds at 1,000.
This is basic weather information that you get for aircraft.
altimeter 3003. This is New York radio out. Gander radio.
And here's now it's switched to Gander radio, which is in
Gander from 2000.
Newfoundland, Canada. So now it's the Canadian weather station.
Visibility 1/2 mile. Right now.
And this one's interesting because you see in Newfoundland, Gander is actually better on 10.051. Let's try Gander on the other frequencies. Nothing heard, 3485. It's there on 6604. But 10.051 is better.
Vertical visibility 200 feet from 04000. Wind 360 degrees, 25 knots. Gusting 35 knots.
Wow, this is an unusual transmission. Anybody else hearing 10.071.5 upper sideband? Looks like Asian. Some kind of Asian language. Yep, Mute Zone 9395, Global 24, right here. Here it is.
Doing this. That's the big countries like France and Spain and Italy to a large extent agreeing to do something called structural reform. Now, whether this actually matters or not is a big point, but it is something that the Germans have been banging on about. So
it's still going on. They seem to have found some funding to continue on. So let's cross our fingers because I actually enjoy having Global 24 around.
You've got to halt the deflation in Europe, because if you halt the deflation, then Europe starts to grow, and if Europe starts to grow, everybody's debt problems get a little less pressing.
So now it seems to be gone, but 10.071.5, there was Asian language. It's always interesting to hear these weird transmissions that you don't really know what they are. Yeah, Andrew, it's always fun, Andrew is saying he's picking up 6604 in Berlin with weather broadcast. And it's always, I like listening to these Volmet stations, these weather stations from other countries. One that I receive quite often is from Shannon in Ireland. The other one is which is Shannon Volmet. I also hear the RAF, the Royal Air Force in the UK, on the weather also. It's always fun. And I remember a few years ago, I think they're off now, but a few years ago on 10.057, I heard weather that I think was from Senegal. It was very interesting. going to use the power of you guys. Anybody? Jacob Wagner is asking a question. What active antenna would I recommend for the PL660? He's heard of the Dijon 31 MS, but they say it produces many noise. And I'm not a big, I don't know a lot about active antennas. I know that there's the AN1 from Sony that gets really good reviews. I'm not really sure it still exists, though. Anybody have an idea on what active antenna would be a good choice for shortwave? Oh, nice, Dustin. Good catch. Hearing India 7550 kilohertz on his PL is new PL 880 receiver from Texan. That's also a good receiver. That's something sometimes I'd like to have, maybe an 880. Dryer Film says there's a voice behind it on 11115. Let's try that. 11155. I'd say that in the noise I hear kind of something, but it's just so weak that I can't really make it out. Eleven five five zero, which is, I believe, 11550. It's WRMI, True News apparently, but there's music right now. So WRMI out of Florida on 11550 kilohertz.
You're listening to the Overcomer 24 hours
Brothers there,
broadcast.
almost everywhere on shortwave. Let's hope that in 20 years, it's not the only thing on shortwave.
For you to call, have a question or comment.
Brothers there, or as Glenn Hauser
843
on the World of Radio
5053.
calls him Brother Scare, which I like.
Leave your comment.
Brother Scare.
And then in the chat, you address your letter to the Overcomer.
New Zone, thanks for checking 9395. Try 87843 USB Bangkok Medio.
You're listening to WRMI, Radio Miami International, Okeechobee, Florida, USA, and www.wrmi.net. Send us your comments on reception reports to info@wrmi.net or by regular mail to WRMI, Post Office Box 52685 552, Miami, Florida 33152 USA.
www.overpump.
Just gonna try 8.743 just by a chance right now, but I don't think it's gonna come in. I'd say there's something weak, but I'm not really sure. Jacob, MuteZone's talking about the Sony AN1 and AN12. Also, the Wellbrook active antennas. The Sony AN1, I know that a lot of people that use it seem to say it's fantastic. So the Sony AN1 could be a good choice. Wellbrook active antennas. I didn't think of that, but also get some really good reviews out of the Wellbrook active antennas. So you can check that also. That, you know what? That's something I should actually get myself. But instead of buying a radio, I should actually buy, next time I do a purchase for my videos, get one of those active antennas and actually talk about it and how they work and how well they can improve maybe the shortwave radio listening experience. It's Chinese. There's some Chinese on 11635 would be some Chinese jammer of some sort. So I'm hearing it right now, which means 25-meter band is open to Asia. There's the Sultanate of Oman in Arabic on 11650 right now. So Oman in Arabic. Well, 11665, I'm actually hearing Radio Japan in Japanese directly from the transmitter site in near Tokyo. So I'm actually hearing Radio Japan direct in Japanese on 11665. So the 25-meter band in Eastern North America is really open to Asia right now. Eleven 670, which is all India radio. They still have an half hour in English if anyone wants to listen to India. 7550 9445 11.670.
The Consulate General in Atlanta was in touch with police authorities and will provide all assistance. Sri Lanka's plantation minister and leader of the House, Lakshman Siriala, has said that the forthcoming visit of President Maithripala Sirisena to New Delhi early next week will be used to attract investment to the country. Speaking at the press briefing on yesterday's cabinet meeting, Mr. Siriala said that Sri Lanka is not keen to borrow since the last problem has got the country into heavy debt with China. He said India and United States are willing to help Sri Lanka by ensuring flow of investments. He added that this time, the visit of President Maithripala to Delhi is mainly for education, investment and highways. In reply to a question on Indian concerns of the project, the minister said that any relations that Sri Lanka will have with China will not be to the detriment of our relations with India. Sri Lanka's cabinet yesterday approved a proposal to request India to help Sri Lankan plantation workers by building 20,000 new houses and repairing 20,000 line houses in the hill district. Addressing the press in Colombo yesterday, Sri Lanka's plantation minister that 60,000 copies were built by India to the Indian housing project. They said a grant of 1,500 crore rupees will have to be made by India for this kind of assistance. He said this will be discussed by two
All India Radio also coming in at 11740, but this is directed to Oceania. Radio Havana, Cuba, 11760 kilohertz. Don't forget, anyone watching, we're at 52 spectators. There's a lot of people watching. If you are listening to something on your shortwave receiver, why not send that little tip to our official shortwave radio at gmail.com address, or you can share it as a comment on the YouTube channel. I'll be seeing it here, and also on the Twitter feed at Shortwave Radios. So Cuba, 11760 in Spanish.
De San Carlos de la Cabaña, sede principal del evento. Dedicada a la India como país invitado de honor a los escritores cubanos Olga Portuondo Zúñiga y Leonardo Acosta, la importante cita abrirá sus puertas al público a partir de este viernes.
Little question that Susan asks. She says, I see that that radio you have goes to VHF, UHF, but on the Hangouts you only do shortwave. What else do you listen on these I frequencies? First of all, yeah, it's normal that I show you only the shortwave portion, since this is the shortwave channel. So I don't, I've decided to separate the shortwave portion from another. Unfortunately, I don't do a lot of videos on my VHF, UHF channel, which I should really do more of. But when I do tune higher frequencies on this radio, I'd say that I listen a lot to amateur radio operators in the local 2-meter and 70 centimeter ham band, which is 144 to 148 megahertz and 430 to 450 megahertz. I also do a lot of amateur radio satellite listening, so I will use my laptop. Actually, the one I'm using right here, I'm just going to show you the laptop. So the laptop you see here is the one that's always staying there, and it controls my radio. So I can show you here with the USB cable that I plug in. I control the radio with it, and so I use Am Radio Deluxe, and I actually control the radio and listen to the satellites, amateur radio satellites that cross over the city. And so by controlling radio, I know that I'm always on the exact frequency. I also do a lot of higher frequency listening, and will listen sometimes. I'm not that big a fan of listening. A lot of people that listen to high frequencies or using scanners usually listen to things like the police, local police, or firefighters and stuff like that. I'm not that much into that. I always have the frequencies programmed in the radio, though, for the purpose of if something happens and I want to listen to the police or firefighters, I have the possibility. But most of my UHF and VHF listening is probably either amateur radio operators or different satellites. I'm actually a, I'm one of my hobbies is actually astronomy. I love space and I love, you know, watching and I love listening to pretty much everything space. So having a listen to these, amateur radio satellites and stuff like that really brings the part of me that's like loves astronomy and radio at the same time, and it's always I get a big kick out of listening to satellites that cross over. It's just so amazing. Hey Matt, welcome to the channel. It's not a new channel actually. It's an old channel that I don't do a lot of stuff on it. It's official VHF UHF channel, but there was a problem when I created the name. I didn't see that there was no L, so it's Chan. There's no L at the end. If you want to find it, it's official VHF UHF CHANNE. No L, and you'll find the channel. And I haven't posted in probably a month or two. But I should probably do a lot more. I think there's a lot of people that would like it, and I maybe do more stuff about with scanners and all, especially with all these radios that I have, and I got scanners, I got these trunk scanners and so on, and I got the R20 that goes VHF UHF. I should really do more videos on the high frequencies on that other channel. But the thing is I try to. The time is a very big problem. I would, I need something like 40 hours a day. That would be nice. If days would last 40 hours at least, would be even more interesting. Yep, Andrew, I seen that the Wellbrook. I've went to the Wellbrook loop antennas, and yep, they are very expensive at $400. And you know what? I'm a big fan of homemade antennas. So I don't think I would spend more than $100 for a loop, or a not a loop, but a loop, an active loop, and even 100 is a lot of money. And I think that with all that we have, we can make our own very good antennas with very few parts and very few amount of monies involved. And I agree with you, Andrew. It's $400 for a Walbrook loop is a lot of money, but it depends what you want, and depends on the money, how much money you spend also, on radios. I got a $2,000 radio here, so spending $400 on a loop could be something. It's all dependent, but if you have a 100 or $150 radio, spending 400 on a loop, you're better spending $400 on another radio and buy something like the Alinco DXR8. Get something even better. Shavel says it's crazy how much RFI noise on one side of the bedroom, and then walk to the other side of his bed, and it's so much better for listening. That's the thing. I actually posted 3 videos today on the channel where I explain how to go through your home to see where the noise is located, and it's amazing. Where I am now, this is my office. This is where I work. I am a tech guy. Half of my time I go outside on the road and fix computers of people. Like tomorrow is a full day of work for me. I will have clients to go to around Montreal and fix their computers. But I also work from home because I'm a YouTuber. I have about 10 to 12 different YouTube channels of all sorts of videos, and actually make money with that. And what happens is, this is my office, and the office, of course, has a lot of electronics. I've got like 5 computers here, and this is just so noisy environment that it is almost impossible. The reason why this radio does work here is because it's got a shielded cable that goes all the way outside in the back, so it doesn't get the noise I have here in my office. But I cannot use a portable receiver here. I won't hear anything. I'm just going to pick up noise. And, it's just amazing how just going from one part of a room, or maybe just changing room, sometimes is amazing. Uh, when you own your own home, that's really nice because you can actually, pinpoint where the noise is in your home and deal with it. But if you have a condo or live in an apartment where there's several units, the biggest problem is that you can't go to your neighbors and say, "Can you shut down your TV because I'm getting noise and I can't listen to Radio Romania." They're going to look at you like you're some kind of alien, coming from outer space. And I understand that also. But it's crazy. Noise is really, really the biggest enemy of shortwave. And you know what? I would tell you that what makes shortwave a problem and what's making shortwave die slowly is noise, much more than anything else. If we wouldn't have any noise, I think there would still be today a lot of shortwave listeners, more than we are now. What a lot of shortwave listeners did is that when in the 90s and the early 2000s, when the noise level rose and they just couldn't hear anything anymore, they said, "The hell, I'm not going to listen to shortwave anymore. I don't hear anything." And that helps in, telling the stations, well, we don't need you because we don't listen anymore. And the biggest problem is noise, much more than anything else. Dustin says Brazil on 11780. Oh, yeah, that is probably the case. There we have Brazil, 11780. This is Radio Nacional Amazonas, which is the Brazilian station. You know what? If you like Brazilian music, this
Você de lá. Tremor de 4,5 na escala Richter, ocorrido na manhã de quarta-feira, assustou moradores de 3 municípios do Mato Grosso. As informações com Graziele Bezerra, Rádio Nacional da Amazônia.
Tremor de magnitude 4,5 na escala Richter atingiu os municípios de Confresa, Porto Alegre do Norte e Canabrava, em Mato Grosso, de acordo com o professor Jorge Sandi, do Observatório Sismológico da UNB, a Universidade de Brasília. O abalo ocorreu por volta das 6h40 da manhã.
You know, Dalibor, I love astronomy also. I used to have a big telescope when I was younger, and actually sold it at a certain point because it was a telescope that was owned half and half. My brother and I had spent half the money, and in the 90s, the telescope was really big, and it comes to a point where you live in an apartment and you need space, and you're thinking, okay, that big case with that huge telescope, yeah, I think it could go somewhere else. And you live in a big city where you don't see a lot of stuff in the sky because of the pollution, the light pollution. And I sold my half of the telescope, but still have my nephew that has a very nice one. And you know what? One thing that I've done a lot, and it works amazingly well, is use a digital camera. I'm going to show you. I use this digital camera that has some manual settings to do astronomy, because I just put it on like 4 or 5 or 6 second exposures with the ISO set to the max and all of that. and it actually shows me stuff in the sky that I can't really see. And since this one is an old one, so 8 megapixel, but you know what? If you get like a 15 or a 20 megapixel, you can really stretch that picture so much that you'll actually see things that are amazing. And also a pair of binoculars. I always add a pair of binoculars since I was young. Get yourself just a pair of binoculars. It's amazing what you can see in the sky with those. Really interesting. And Dalibor says that he saw Jupiter with his satellites. Yeah, that is amazing. You know what? I always remember when I had a telescope when I was young, and the first time I saw Saturn's rings, I was really amazed. And I remember running like hell up the stairs where I lived and go and fetch my brother and say, "Come, I'm going to show you something." And he came down, like, what the hell are you going to show me? A little point of star somewhere. And he looked, and the first thing he did was, wow. And you knew that that was just amazing for him also. Seeing Saturn's rings on the telescope was amazing. So Brazil, if you love Brazilian music, like I was saying a little earlier, on 11780 is always a strong one in North America, and it's always fantastic Brazilian music there. Shirewell says that he does some he's in the computer room now, but usually he does his shortwave listening in his bedroom. And one thing that I always do, because I don't have any more of desktop computers. I only use laptops. One thing that I notice when you use computers is that using a laptop on batteries is really fantastic. So if you want to, like, what I usually do is have one of my laptops open with the schedules, shortwave schedules, and that's why I know what we're listening to tonight. Why? Because I got this computer open, and this has EIBI space schedules on it, and also frequency lists. So when I'm actually tuning and talking to you guys, I'm watching the schedules here and looking at what station is actually on right now from the EIBI space list. And if you have a laptop computer, if you listen a little bit on shortwave, using it on batteries is good, because most laptops on batteries are amazingly quiet. So you can try that also if you have a laptop computer.
Pouquinho mais cedo, nós estamos para todo o Brasil, a Rádio Antares de Teresina, nosso muito obrigado, Rádio Brasil AM de Adamantina, Rádio Cidade de Esperança da Paraíba. Liberando o telefone, Pereira está ali de olho no telefone, está parecendo aquela coruja velha, só observando, dizendo é agora que vai, é agora, 61 3799-5742, 3799-5743. Você aproveita para que possamos conversar até a meia-noite hoje. Nós vamos com eu de cá, você de lá. Meu amigo da estrada, meu amigo caminhoneiro, o carnaval já começou no Brasil, não é como várias são cidades em que o sapé caiaiá já está comendo solto. Então você, muito cuidado na estrada, devagar.
Mute Zone is actually saying that the Wellbrook active loops are really amazing, and he's saying that he's actually received the USA and Anguilla yesterday on medium wave with the antenna placed indoors, and they are excellent for shortwave. It's true that a active loop in any loop antenna is good for doing a null on a signal. What's a null? It's that there's, these antennas are very directional, and on the sides, actually what happens is that there's a spot where the signals actually almost aren't audible. So on medium wave, for example, if you are listening to a frequency, there's a lot of stations from different areas around you. By turning the loop, you actually have the effect of bringing in some stations and nulling the other ones, meaning that they're almost at zero signal level. And actually, you can see that effect in a medium wave portable radio, because a portable radio has basically a small loop inside it. And when you turn the radio, you'll probably notice that the signals fade in and out. That's because you get the nulls that are on the antenna. And so a loop antenna is good for that, because that's what is going to bring you really nulling out stations. So Andrews just copied from the web. Come to UNESCO in Paris this Friday, the 13th. Free and open to the public. We're celebrating World Radio Day 2015 at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, with major international and community radio stations coming together to broadcast live from 11 a.m. If I was be a millionaire, I'd say what I'd say to you guys. I'm paying the plane ticket. We're all going to Paris tomorrow. That would be so cool. And we'd go together to UNESCO World Radio Day and actually meet in person at the same time. That would be really, really cool. Thanks, Andrew, for sharing this moment. It is true that tomorrow is World Radio Day, Friday the 13th, by the way. I didn't even notice and think about this, but tomorrow's a Friday the 13th. I hope you guys aren't too much superstitious, because tomorrow's Friday the 13th, and so anything can happen. But it's also World Radio Day, so I haven't seen much of anything happen on shortwave on World Radio Day, unfortunately. Would have been nice to have some kind of special transmission, but I'm sure that a lot of stations will have a little bit or little info on World Radio Day. I've heard, I think Radio Romania mentioned that they'll have a little bit of special programming for World Radio Day. Andrew says, excellent idea. Yeah, I'm gonna take out my bank account, and we're all going to Paris tomorrow. So if anyone wants to join in, I'm paying the plane ticket to everyone. Eleven 8:20 with the Quran from Saudi Arabia.
أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى.
Bueno, en este grupo A también se enfrentarán este fin de semana Leones de China frente a Leones de Marruecos. Esto será en la jornada del viernes, mientras que los alfares albazosos de Argelia reciben a los Tamán de Ucrania. Ucrania está en el segundo lugar de la clasificación del grupo con 10.
Radio Havana, Cuba on 11840.
Escuchamos muchas veces en la radio, como les decía, tenemos aquí esta reunión integrada por el equipo de directores del Teatro Nacional Radio Comunitario.
Radio Romania in Spanish on 11870. Cuba on 11880. Saudi Arabia again on 11915 with the Quran. Radio Exterior de España 11940.
Continentes. La información internacional entre otro tiempo y Radio Exterior de España.
Once again, Radio Exterior de España. 1203. Oh, many frequencies are using actually.
Bienvenidos, ya están en su programa Conversando la Gente.
WEWN, the Catholic station in the United States.
I was extolled in an extraordinary tale of
BBC making it quite well on 12095 right now.
First, a short summary of the latest news.
BBC News with Warren Marshall. European leaders say they may impose more sanctions on Russia if it fails
From Ascension Islands.
a deal in eastern Ukraine. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the European Union was already drawing up further sanctions. The ceasefire should begin in eastern Ukraine at midnight on Saturday. The leaders of Germany and Greece have spoken positively about the prospects for resolving disagreements over Greece's demands for debt relief. At a European Union summit, Angela Merkel said her government was prepared to compromise. Earlier, the new Greek Prime Minister, Alexis Tsipras, said he was confident that a mutually acceptable solution could be found. There's been chaos in the South African Parliament as President Jacob Zuma attempted to deliver his annual State of the Nation address. The Speaker of Parliament summoned police to expel members of the opposition Economic Freedom Fighters Party. They repeatedly interrupted proceedings, demanding that
C'est juste. Et vous avez demandé que Pilate vous libère un assassin. Vous avez fait mourir le
WTWW in Lebanon, Tennessee with French language programs.
témoin.
Let's go to the 19-meter band. Just check out what we can hear as we are now in the sunset zone. A little more than we're about half an hour past the sunset here in Montreal. Not even half an hour, maybe 20 minutes. And so we're kind of what we call the gray zone. And sometimes propagation can be interesting. So we're going to tune the 19-meter band and see what we can hear. And maybe afterwards we'll go back to the 49-meter band and see if we can hear anything special down the bands. Once again, anyone listening to something unusual on shortwave, why not let us know? Official shortwave radio at gmail.com, via Twitter at shortwave radios, and also through the questions and answer tab that we have right here on the Hangout. But I think for that you need to have a Google or a YouTube or a Gmail account for it to work.
Coordinated universal time.
So WWV 15 megahertz.
At the tone, 22 hours, 34 minutes, coordinated universal time.
Interesting chirping sound on 15150. So music on 15190, but there's like two signals. We can see there's two signals together on 15190 right now. This would be Radio Africa from the Okeechobee transmitter site in Florida. Radio Argentina al exterior. If you want to listen to Argentina, 15345 in Spanish right now. Argentina coming in with fair signal here.
Dans le sud-est du pays. AG231 Shortwave a occupé divers postes au Pentagone entre 2009 et 2013. L'armée syrienne
Radio Havana, Cuba in French on 15370 kilohertz.
et la sécurité d'Ermaker, une ville de la province de Dara dans le sud.
That's interesting, an interesting signal. 15385, no audio, just a carrier. And it has a lot of flutter, like these Asian signals that usually have flutter. Interesting. No audio at all, just a signal. It's also interesting, it's on 15385 at this time. There's absolutely nothing that is written on the lists. So, you know, why would somebody spend money on a transmitter that's just doing nothing? Something in Chinese, 15525 kilohertz. Well, second time this week. This is Reach Beyond Australia. And wait, no, yeah, Reach Beyond Australia in Mandarin. So this is very interesting. Reach Beyond Australia, which is what HCJB Australia was before. They changed their name to Reach Beyond Australia, and this is Mandarin. So we're hearing signals from Asia right now. Anybody hearing 15572.9 or 15572 or 15573 upper sideman? There's something here. Talking in 15572.9 sounds like Spanish. This is why I love shortwave. This is just so amazing. That signal that is like from maybe Portuguese or Spanish. I'm not really sure because I'm not really fluent in any of those languages. But just so amazing, and that buzzing, it just sounds so weird. 15572.8 in upper sideband, and I don't know if it's some kind of conversation or a broadcast of some sort, but I've rarely heard those on the 19-meter band like that. It's just amazing what we can hear right now. 15572.8 upper sideband. Any other people except me hearing this right now on their radios? May Newportman 27, welcome from Baltimore. Welcome to the hangout. This is in Montreal. Hey, Raptor 22 Stealth, Mr. David in Barcelona. Welcome to the hangout. And he's listening to CRI in Spanish on 7250 right now, booming on his PL 600 receiver. And telling me if I tune on the R8500, be sure to use the AM wine mode. I'm going to try it 7250. Very, very noisy here. Barely anything. We're going to go back to that very weird transmission on 15572.8 upper sideband. Now, where does this come from? What is this exactly? Is there some kind of transmission here? Is it, you know, like a broadcast? That weird buzzing sound is so weird. Is it just some kind of, you know, maybe studio feed or some kind of transmission from, you know, South America? This is just so amazing. You know, one thing that'd be fun is when we hear these unusual shortwave signals to have a way to actually know exactly from where they come from. This is really, really surprising. I've actually never heard anything like it in the 19-meter band. Really, really weird. 15572.8. There's some really sharp fades from time to time, but it comes up and still, you know, brings my S meter to S4, S5 sometimes. Very strong. It sounds almost, you know, like Halloween type transmission. It's just so weird. Anybody else hearing it right now? 15572.8 upper sideband. That's why I love shortwave, you know, listening to these weird signals on the bands, and there's always something unusual, always something. You know, when I say there's always something unusual, just like at our hangout today, and you know, I've heard something unusual on the 10 megahertz band a little earlier, and now there's something really weird and unusual on 15 megahertz. That's shortwave, and that's why you have to tune in the bands all the time, because the interesting signals that we have here are, you know, amazing. So let's continue. They're tuning the bands a little bit in the 19-meter band.
Claiming that it's an exhaustive explanation for World War I. But one of the things
This is WWN Catholic Station on 15610 kilohertz.
justified German of the Christian church.
This is WRMI with Brothers Stair 15770.
At the hour of prayer. At the hour of prayer.
Very weird noise or transmission. 15867. You know what? 15867. Anyone who watched a episode of Futurama with Hypnotoad? It sounds like Hypnotoad from Futurama. Hey Scott, welcome to the Hangout. He says that 15572.8 is S3 here in South Texas, down in the noise. Interesting transmission though. Very amazing.
Chip later, I'm moving with the blind. Return to primary frequency. Return to primary. Out.
Hey, chip leader. He's called himself chip leader. He's in the blind and go to primary frequency 16242.9. What is that? Another weird transmission in English this time. And we clearly heard his ID as chip leader and he's in the blind, which probably means, I would say, probably means that you cannot hear the other station on that frequency. Unfortunately, we don't have what's the primary frequency for this one. No, that was another awkward one. Really, really awkward. Hey, Shawel, take care. 73s, and have fun with those new radios. And have a nice dinner. Here it's a little, well, it's pretty much time for supper, but I'll eat later on, you know, after the hangout. Taking it relaxed today. I've had a complicated week, so today I decided to just relax and listen to the radio. And that's why I'm making this hangout right now. For those that don't understand Morse code, this is WLO in Mobile, Alabama. $17,480. A signal, a carrier without any sound, but I suspect that this is probably the Cuban spy numbers. It might be a transmission from the Cuban spy numbers that's either going to start soon or is going to end. But I would say that it's probably going to start soon. So we're going to come back on 17,480 in a few minutes. Very good signal, actually. It's 9 right now. Let's check the 16-meter band.
La justicia nos permite explicarle al mundo que sí hay un problema pendiente, que no es verdad que no hayan problemas pendientes entre Bolivia y Chile, y también está obligándole al Estado chileno a explicarle al mundo por qué no ha resuelto este problema a lo largo de tantos años. Bolivia busca acceso soberano al mar tras haberlo perdido después de la Guerra del Pacífico en 1879. En el conflicto con Chile perdió 120,000 kilómetros cuadrados de territorio y 400 kilómetros lineales.
This is Radio Havana, Cuba on 17,730. Let's just go back a little bit on 15,572.8. 73. Seems to be gone now. No more transmission. That was really weird, actually, as of a transmission here on shortwave. And that's what I like about shortwaves. Like I told you, it's always fun to have these weird signals around. So we're gonna go down to maybe start somewhere around 5 megahertz. It's dark outside now. We're gonna check what we can hear starting at 5 megahertz. As you see, my noise level is at S9 on 5 megahertz. It's horrible. I'll put a little bit of attenuation here, but it's just so sad to see that the noise level is so high now in these low frequencies. I'm going to go up from 5 megahertz a little bit, and we're going to wait. I'm going to go back at 2300 hours on that 17,480 frequency, which is maybe the Cuban spy number station, actually. So I'm going to check that out. .5025 kilohertz is Radio Rebelde from Cuba. This has been a regular for as long as I listened to shortwave. Radio Rebelde 5025 was always there. It's a weak Radio Havana, Cuba on 5040 kilohertz. It's very weak in noise, but I can hear the Shannon Volmet on 5505 upper sideband. In Europe, you guys must be hearing this really strong. 5505. Actually, I'm going to use the web SDR and check it out here. To give you an idea, in the web SDR in the Netherlands, this is how it is received. This is the web SDR in the Netherlands I'm receiving now. And here's the audio. Very good in the Netherlands.
speed 300, read from, level play, temperature minus 8, 10,
So in Europe, it's a good catch. If I wouldn't have so much noise, I would actually hear it quite well. Because if you think that I have S8 noise level and I can still hear it, that means that this Volnet from Shannon, Ireland is probably somewhere in the S8 to S9 signal level. So before we go to the 49 meter band, Andrew in Berlin says that 5505 is coming in quite well over there, and doesn't surprise me at all. Let's go back to 17.480. Still a carrier with nothing on it. I'm going to check something here. 10 dot, what is it? 10 dot, or 11.65. I don't hear nothing, but I would bet that 17480 is probably from Cuba, but with no, really no audio on it. So let's go to the 49 meter band way down and see what we can hear actually right now. As we'll tune the bands. Something really weak on 5940. 5960 is Voice of Turkey, actually, broadcasting to Europe and North America on 5960 kilohertz in English. Good signal, actually. As you've seen, I've put my attenuator at 20 dB, minus 20 dB, and we still get a signal that's almost going to S9. It means that Turkey is making a very good signal into North America.
Stems from rain sanctions on the country, which they disapprove in a lot of ways. On tourism, Adam began his contact in Mexico, the Americas of Latin America tour. President Adam will inaugurate the first coalition office of Turkish Cooperation and Development Agency and its American company. Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoğlu has met with the German International Program on TRT. Davutoğlu made statements on the process of settlement domestic security package fought against power structure and the presidential system. Davutoğlu said that they are determined to conduct the peace process and put an end to terror, adding that laying down arms is the main aspect of the process. He said that the domestic security package aims to prevent likely provocation.
Well, just before the talks began, the situation.
This is China Radio International in broadcasting from the Cuban transmitter site from Cuba, using the same transmitters as Radio Veni Cuba on 5990 right now. Hey, David in Barcelona. And saying that it's already Friday over there, so it's midnight in Spain, in Barcelona. Take care, my friend. I know it's late. Here we are, 6 p.m., early evening. I still have a full evening. So thanks for being here. It's always fun to see you, David. It's always fun to see everybody. And always nice to see these names that come back and follow me and come to the hangouts. Tonight is just a general listening hangout. It's really cool. And don't forget, David, next hangout, the next official hangout is Sunday, February 22nd, 2015, and it's at 2100 UT. Take care. Have a good night, David.
The last several weeks have been going on sort of on inertia, that there was not much of a control going.
So China Radio International in English right now, 5990, and this is broadcasting from Cuba.
I think that in general, you're right that the fact that there have been so many casualties and of the thousands and thousands of new casualties over the last several days, hundreds, close to 500 people killed in the last 2-3 weeks. That definitely creates a big urgency for all sides to come to India.
Sergei Kajalia, Assistant Professor of Political Science, Baylor University, speaking to CRI's Fuxinhua. Over 420 million Chinese passengers have traveled by road, and nearly 50 million others have taken trains home during the first week of the Spring Festival travel rush. Some cities have launched special trains for migrant workers who make
Drobeta Bridge built by in that region. The INS power plant, the bridges between Calapas and Vidin and between Giorgio and Ruse, the ruins of the Turkish fortresses in Turnu, Giorgio and Braila, the nuclear power plant in Chernobyl, and the Danube Black Sea Canal.
This is Radio Romania with 1 hour in English to Western Europe right now, 6015 kilohertz.
Coming up next on Radio Romania International, Visit Romania.
Ana Maria Popescu and Daniel Bill. Maile Herculane, found in German Hercules Bad and in Hungarian.
CFRX, which is the CFRB 1010 medium wave outlet on shortwave in Toronto, Canada, coming in on 6070. This is pretty much a regular here because we're not that far from Toronto compared to a lot of people.
Short-term to long-term, all on your terms. And with Regis managing the details, you're free to do your best work. So when you're ready to take your business to the next level, Regis is there. Regis, the new way to work. Ryan Doyle, and special guest co-host,
Hey, Tree Hugger from Wayne County in Pennsylvania, welcome to the Hangout. Hey, by the way, you're not that far. Are you going to go to the Shortwave SWL Fest? That's in Pennsylvania, actually, on February 27th and 28th. You're not very far. You could actually go there, maybe if you have the time. It's a great, great shortwave annual shortwave festival.
Leaves, and I see that thing on the wall there, that big white thermostat.
Thanks. Yeah.
Right, that's something
my doctor's bills.
No, you're not getting sick from the cold. Come on now. But send us a quick text message. Just let us know. And fill in the blank. It's so cold.
Hello, Morgan Walker from Idaho. Welcome to the Hangout. It's always fun to have people around, and welcome. Hope that you are tuning your shortwave radio if you have one. And if you have any signals or anything special, why not let us know what you're listening to on the radio? You know, even if it's medium wave or long wave or whatever you're listening to, let us know. and welcome to the Hangout.
Remember the last time we had so many.
Andrew, pretty good propagation. Yeah, it's amazing tonight. The propagation is really cool tonight. The signals we're getting are fantastic, which is, typical of getting close to the March equinox. When we get close to that 21st March or something around there, where we're changing from winter to spring in the northern hemisphere. Signals tend to get really good around this time. Here in Montreal, being north, we have a lot of changes that come into the north for the signals. Here in Montreal, I'd say that when we get local time around, let's say after 8 p.m., which would be about 0100 hours UTC, we tend to start having signals that aren't that fantastic on shortwave. And this winter's been a little painful. I don't know if it's the fact that maybe we have less, powerful shortwave signals to North America. But I've found that after about 8 or 9 p.m., shortwave's been rather dead. And the times that I've listened actually late in the evening, I've mostly listened to amateur radio signals in the 40 and 80 meter band. And even the 80 meter band has been quiet, I'd say, after about, I don't know, late evening, maybe, 10 p.m. After 10 p.m., not a lot of signals, not a lot of, which is a little unfortunate. So usually I see that what I do is usually go to either watch TV or maybe tune the VHF, UHF bands and see what we can hear, especially with the amateur radio satellites that I enjoy listening to on this receiver. But there's still always something to listen to. You have to tune. I'd say that if I had a lower noise level below 10 megahertz, or especially below 7 megahertz, I'd probably listen more because there's a lot of signals still there, even in late evening in the winter times. So, but I'd say we still have maybe an hour or 2 hours of propagation left. That's going to be quite good. But the days are getting longer, and we can see that with the days that are getting there, and we're getting slowly into spring, that propagation is actually changing a lot on the bands. And February is that month where we're going slowly towards these really great days of propagation of the spring, and we get the same type of propagation in I'd say in September, close to the equinox. 6090 with that lady that always asks for money. There's one thing about having a religious station on the air. I have no problem with that. Having some religious station on the air, it's okay. But there's one problem I have with Anguilla. That lady, I don't know how many times I've heard her ask for money. And sometimes I just want, I wanted to write an email one day and say, you know what? You really, truly believe in God? Look, God does not need money. So why not? If you believe in God, money's going to come on its own, man. Or girl. She is so annoying.
We were the first to come all the way to
The only signal from Anguilla, and it's an annoying signal from that girl.
We do not boast beyond limits, that is, in the limbers of others. But our hope is that as your faith increases, our sphere of
this is China Radio International in Portuguese. Yeah, we are close to sunset. You know, here's sunset. It's 6:15 p.m. right now. The sun set about 55 minutes ago. And it is the amazing time. You know, if I have a choice of when I listen to shortwave in the winter, it's from here in, you know, December and January. The sun sets around 4:20 p.m., which is quite early. And I would say that great shortwave radio listening will go on in winter from about, I'd say about 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. You know, that zone there is going to be usually quite good. Now we've almost got an hour more. I think I actually got an hour more. So now the sun sets at around 5:20 p.m., 5:15 p.m. And it really shows because the days are getting longer now. So it means that now we're, you know, maybe from 3 p.m. to up to 8 p.m. I think we'll have good propagation right now. And, you know, the days are getting long, so things are changing. And boy, if you guys would see it outside right now, it's like a major snowstorm. We're going to get really, really cold temperatures. If anyone been watching the temperature here, when I started the hangout, it was like -3, and now it's -7. And this is going to drop like to -20 tonight. And so we got things that called snow squalls. Snow squalls are these really intense snow showers that show up when there's a big change in temperature. And I can tell you that that's probably what we're having. 10 minutes ago, there was really not snowing anymore. And now it's like I barely see the other side of the street. So it's quite amazing.
Obama is Islamist, or Obama is
6115 kilohertz, which is from Okeechobee, Florida. This is a strong one pretty much all the time.
But no matter how you look at it, spreading.
No, I'm sorry. It's not Okeechobee, Florida. This is WWCR in Nashville, Tennessee. I always mistake WWCR on some of their frequencies. So 6115. WWCR Nashville, Tennessee. And you know what, Berlin, Andrew, is, I think, pretty much in the same latitude from Montreal. Is quite close. Here we are 45.5 degrees north, which is really, really middle latitude in between the North Pole and the equator. And I know European cities, a lot of European cities are much more northerly than us. But here we have really cold weather. Susan's saying, wow, what weather you got. Well, you know what? Here, Montreal is one of the cities we get a lot of snow. There was actually an article in the newspaper this morning. We're talking about Boston in the U.S. They had like 195 centimeters, almost 2 meters of snow, which is like, you know, 6 or 7 feet of snow. And they're not used to that. You know, here we have in a normal winter from 2 to 3 meters of snow, which is basically about, you know, 7, 8, 9 feet of snow. And it's totally normal. This is normal for us. And we have like an army of trucks. So here what happens is there's a snowstorm, and 3 days later, 4 days later, there's not even, you know, it barely shows that there was a snowstorm, except maybe on the grass where people, you know, keep the snow with, which, you know, will accumulate. But in Boston, they've had more snow this year than we had here in Montreal, which is very unusual. We get a lot more snow than the U.S., pretty much everywhere in the U.S. And it's just so funny to see that because you know, we don't. Boston does not have all the trucks and all the capacity that we spend like 20. I think the city of Montreal spends like $20 million on taking out the snow every year, which is a lot of money, you know. And we have to. There's just so much snow here. So get cranking those emergency radios. What, you want me to take out the emergency radios now, Andrew? I actually like that, you know, getting those radios there. Berlin is 52 north. So, you know, it's not that much, you know, we're 45. It's interesting to see, you know, I'm always amazed about that. Montreal is 45 and you guys are 52, and we get these really, really harsh winters compared to Berlin, which has a winter but doesn't have the same winter that we get here. You know, here, one of the major reasons why we get these really, really harsh winters is because of the way that the territory is made. We've got something called Hudson's Bay, which is a huge mass of water. And I remember reading about the fact that Hudson's Bay actually helps the Arctic cold air to really reach down south. So that's why Canada is just so cold, because we really get that Arctic air that comes down regularly. A regular, actually, Susan in California was asking, what's the regular temperatures that you get in Montreal? But you know what? This is just so funny. I'm going to tell you a little story. When I had my first internet connection, I was on something called IRC, which is the Internet Relay Chat. And what happened is I think it was like on New Year's Eve of maybe 1995, I was talking to a guy in Oslo in Norway. And what happened is that we're talking about the weather. And the guy in Oslo, you know, we all think of Norway as that really cold spot because they're so northerly. And we're talking about the weather, and he's telling me that in winter, cold is like 0 degrees. And I'm telling him that cold here is like minus 25 degrees. And he's amazed. He's like, really? And I'm amazed also, because I think that Norway is colder than here. But actually, no, we're colder than Norway. And we continue talking, and I say, well, you know, he says, well, we have summer where it's like 20 degrees. And I tell him, well, here summer is like 30 degrees. We're like tropical in July. We are really tropical. It's humid, it's 30 degrees, and it's like we don't know where to go. And we're searching for places with, you know, air conditioned. And the guy, after about 10 minutes, told me, how can you live in a spot like that? That's minus 20 in the winter and plus 30 in the summer. It's like, well, you know, that's being Canadian. I don't know. We're made of hard stuff. But you know what, Andrew? He's saying, no kidding, just thought you might get a power outage with the snowstorm. You know what, Andrew? Here we get the huge snowstorms that are incredible, and the power never goes off. It's just amazing. Here, the power grid is very, it's made for winter. So the power grid over here is very difficult to really, really bring down, actually. And here, Andrew, I'm going to do a little something here. So sorry, guys, I'm going to move the camera 2 seconds just to show you guys what it looks outside. It's not like it was a little earlier, but I'm still going to show you. I don't know if you guys are going to see it. It's a little blurry, and the camera can't focus. So it's a little, oh, here we go. So, you know, you can't really see it, but it's snowing like really a lot. But earlier when I was talking to you, it was much worse than this. This is like nothing compared to what I saw about 10 minutes ago. So, you know, the snowstorm here is nothing. You know what? We're used to it. And actually, we almost want to have snowstorms because it's just so beautiful. And it's something, you know, for people that never seen a snowstorm, it's just so beautiful. I love snowstorms. I want to have some. So let's go back to radio and instead of weather and talking about Montreal here. So 6160 is CKZN, the CBC outlet in Newfoundland. This is actually one of the last Canadian Broadcasting Corporation really transmissions that you can get from shortwave on 6160 kilohertz. So don't worry, Andrew. Here, even if it's a blizzard, we still have power.
Posición española en
Nar.
nar es en donde.
Nar.
见面es, como ya hemos visto, encontrarse.
见面.
Si ponemos estas palabras una detrás de otra,
China Radio International in Spanish right now on 6175 kilohertz.
见面.
y las preguntas sobre cuándo y dónde encontrarse son por el mismo orden. 我们几点见面？在哪见面？
You know what, Andrew? Andrew is saying that he has a friend from Winnipeg that's wears the T-shirt in 5 degrees. You know what? With the weather we're having now, I will wear a T-shirt in 0 degrees if you want, because you know what? It's just going to be warm for me, and it's just so amazing, and that's very, very true.
De las oraciones de hoy, vamos a repasarlas un momento. Hola, ¿por quién?
Morgan Walker saying it's a pleasant 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the west, 60 degrees about 16 degrees Celsius for those that are in metric. So yeah, you know what? There's one thing that happens to every Canadian when we are in February, though. In every February, if you ask a Canadian what he thinks of winter, he's going to tell you that he hopes winter goes to hell because he just can't take it anymore. That's pretty much the state of mind of all Canadians at this time. You know, it's really cute when it's Christmas, the snow, the Christmas trees. It's very beautiful. But you know what? When Christmas is over and January, which is the hardest month usually, is over, we just hope that winter really ends soon because we just can't take it anymore. And you know what? This year it's rather cold. We are, look, February 12th, you know, we should start seeing a little bit of warmer weathers, but in the past 3 weeks, we've been like almost steady in the -20, -15 degrees Celsius. You know, that's like 0 to -10 Fahrenheit. And it's colder than usual, actually, because we don't usually have that cold of a weather here. We have cold weather. You know, -20 is not something that doesn't exist. We see -20 every winter. But sustained -20 is not something we see every winter. And so I really, really, you know, am looking forward to March and April where the snow is going to start to melt. And I'm going to be able to do some bicycle rides outside and go back to my little DX spot when I do these DX expeditions. I think it's going to be cool.
Tradicional dice que al recibir un regalo hay que negarse a aceptarlo. De hecho, se trata de una simple forma.
Don't worry, Andrew. I tell you, at 0 degrees, I'm going to wear a T-shirt and short pants, and I'm going to swim in a river, and I'm going to say it's warm.
¿Quién lo hace si es valioso? Por eso los chinos suelen escoger objetos preciosos o caros para hacer regalos.
Con esta llegamos a
23:30. If you guys want to listen to Radio Ukraine International from WRMI. I don't know, it doesn't make it to Europe. In Europe, hey, Andrew, can you tune 11580 and let me know if in Europe you can hear WRMI, and especially Radio Ukraine International that's going to start in English in about a minute now.
Bob Zanotti, formerly of Swiss Radio International, now SwitzerlandInSound.com in Bern, Switzerland. And you're listening to WRMI, Radio Miami International, Okeechobee, Florida, USA, and www.wrmi.net. Send us your comments and reception reports to info@wrmi.net.
Radio Ukraine from WRMI in Florida.
This is Ukrainian Radio. In this half-an-hour broadcast of Radio Ukraine International, you will hear in this bulletin Ukrainian Perspective, a program interpreting commentary on the Reading Lounge, presenting literary works by famous Ukrainian writers and poets.
First, the news read by Helena Kozluk. The leaders of the Normandy 4 countries, France, Germany, Russia, and Ukraine, in Minsk have agreed on a ceasefire in the Donbass conflict zone to start on February 15th. French President François Hollande said the talks in Minsk were a relief for Europe and hope for Ukraine. German Chancellor Angela Merkel hopes for a peaceful resolution of the Ukrainian conflict, however understands that serious differences have yet to be overcome, Western media reported on Thursday. A ceasefire and the shift of the Ukraine conflict from the military to political field are the main results of the recent Minsk negotiations, in the opinion of German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier. An agreement to create a 50-kilometer buffer zone in Donbass free.
Scott's saying it's 70 degrees from South Texas right now. Thanks, guys, for bringing my moral down and really thinking that I should move south somewhere in the U.S.
Moscow was larger than 100 millimeters. It is agreed to pull the artillery back from the Minsk line held by the illegal armed units and the actual line held by the Ukrainian.
Yeah, you should check it out, Tree Hugger, for this SWL Fest. And he's mentioning that they got a great Amfest in Sussex, New Jersey in July. Here we have one in Longueuil. Longueuil is a city that's, Montreal's an island, and just south, the other side of the St. Lawrence River, we have another big city. It's called Longueuil, and they have probably what is the biggest ham fest in the eastern Canada, and I've heard that it's maybe even the biggest in Canada. And so every year in October we have the Amfest, and so it's always a big event. It's always interesting, looking at all those radios. I want to buy everything, and Amfests are something that's so interesting. And seeing all these old radios, I'd love to bring all of them home, and cuddle them. And well, I'm not crazy like that. Well, maybe I'm crazy like that, but you know what? I love radios, and when I see old ones, wow, I just love old radios.
Russian and Ukrainian leaders and their
Andrew says that 11580 in Berlin sounds good.
were put forward to Kyiv, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko said, but really did not bow to any ultimatums and firmly stood by our position that a ceasefire should.
Oh, nothing. Sorry, I missed. I didn't read it well. Andrew says nothing on 11580, but sounds good where I am. Yep. Well, it is made for North America, I think, so that's why.
Ukraine did not agree to give the
Morgan says that thinks he has Radio Free Asia on 11580. Very noisy, weak signal.
The news was reported by Radio Free Europe. Poroshenko also announced that
You know what? Andrew says if I've ever wanted to live in another city, no. Montreal is actually, I'm a very, I always say to everybody that I'm a Montreal boy. I'm I'm proud of Montreal, of my city. I love my city. Um, I love everything about it. But if I had to live somewhere else, you know what? One, what I would probably like to is live maybe in a European city. There's something about Europe that I like, and that brings me. I don't know. I'm kind of attracted to Europe. Um, I like the United States. I've went to the United States many times, and the United States of America is one of the very beautiful countries. There's a lot of stuff to visit, and it's our next door neighbor here in Canada. The United States is our neighbor, and Canadians like the United States in general. And I think even though we have jokes on TV shows, I think Americans like having Canada as a next door neighbor. It's very nice, but you know what? I'm not that much. I'm talking about the cold weather, but I'm not complaining. You know what? I'm a cold weather guy. Having year-round 90 degrees Fahrenheit or like 30 degrees Celsius is not my type of weather. If I have 30 degrees Celsius a year long, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm actually and very used to cold weather, and I actually love winter. I'm one of those rare people that actually says winter is a cool time, and I like winter. I like snow, and I like walking in snow. I like everything about winter. So I'm happy where I am, but if I'd move to maybe Europe. There's something about Europe I really love. Um, I don't know what it is. We have here actually one thing that people don't know a lot is that here in Montreal, we are one of the first, when the French arrived here, we, at Montreal is one of the first major places that were established from France. And we actually have we call it Old Montreal. And Old Montreal here looks like Europe. If you go in Old Montreal and you come from Europe, you will say, wow, this looks like Europe. And pretty much any American or West Canadian, any people coming from the west of Canada visit Montreal. When they go to Old Montreal, they feel like they're in Europe. And it's one of the only cities in North America that really has that intense feel with, the houses made of real big rock, and the streets which are made of brick for the horses. And it looks like, a city from the 18th century. And it does have the European feel to it.
Clearly terms specifies the comprehensive ceasefire at the midnight of Sunday. Besides,
Well, Morgan, you have to come to Montreal. And if you ever do, send me an email because we have to meet. And I'm going to show you around. You know what? If any one of you guys come to Montreal, please leave me a message because I'm going to meet you guys and I'm going to show you what Montreal is from a Montrealer that knows everything about his city. So we're going to go really downtown and so on. We're going to go to Old Montreal, going to go everywhere. So, Morgan, come and take a peek at Montreal. Montreal is very unique because Montreal is the biggest French-speaking city in North America. Montreal is, like 60% French Canadian. That's why I speak French, and that's why I understand the French language.
said after the talks. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said she hopes for a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict, however, understands the serious differences have yet to be overcome. She noted that she has no excessive illusions in this regard. Serious obstacles still remain on the way to the settlement, Merkel said in the wake of the Minsk talks. Meanwhile, Germany and France have pledged to help restore the banking system in the conflict-stricken part of Ukraine, according to a declaration adopted by the four leaders in Minsk. Germany and France will provide technological support needed to revive the banking system.
So, hey, you guys, I'm a little hungry. I'm gonna go make myself some lunch. It was really, really fun to have all of you over on this shortwave hangout that lasted, like 2 hours and 40 minutes, which is quite amazing and really fun. You know what? I'm not sure, but if any North American guys are still up, there's a possibility I might actually show up later on with another little hangout, but later on. You European guys will be really like in the middle of the night, but I don't know. It depends on what I decide to do. Some friends that actually call me for a few beers at the local bar here. So it depends on what I'm going to do actually. Thanks for being here. It's very, very, very nice to have all of you guys all the time showing up on my hangouts. And take care. Have a lot of fun. Listen to that radio. And anytime you want to, ask me any question, talk to me. You can always send me an email or ask me a question. I try to answer as much as I can. And, you guys are fantastic. Welcome to the Hangout. Take care, Andrew. And take care, everyone. Tree Hugger. And I don't want to mention too many names. I'm going to forget. So take care. The military activity of separatists has increased.